Welcome back. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today we're going to do a summary of 2021. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that 2021 was a good acquisition year for me. I had a lot of really new and interesting things to share on the channel. And just to give you an idea, before we kind of crack into this, I tried 25 new brands, but I actually tried again on a couple brands that I wasn't really fond of at the beginning of the year. So I tried again with Edward Green, picked up a Dover, fell in love with the brand, fell in love with the shoes and the boots, and have really doubled down and dug into it. I fell in love with Altan Boutier, picked up a pair of shoes, Blake stitched, love it, plan to go forward and get some of the hand welted ones. They're just wonderful shoes. I wasn't sure about Meccariello, and part of the problem was that my sizing was bad. And I dug in, got a couple pairs of shoes, one of which is here and we'll talk about, and just absolutely fell in love. Got the opportunity to meet Antonio and via Zoom, and he's just a wonderful gentleman, great guy, and super excited about working with him. Have a number of things on the way for next year. Very excited to be working with him. And then I tried the Foster & Son. I wanted to get into the really high end of that brand. I had only had one, which was a Henry Maxwell, which was not specifically high end, and I bought one of those shoes. Unfortunately, right as they were going under for their ready-to-wear line, now they are bespoke only. So if I want to go back there, I need to try something different. And then last, I wanted to give Alfred Sargent country shoes a try. I had never really done it. They've kind of been panned by a lot of the aficionados, mostly because they're not as good as the, exclusive or the hand grade lines, but gave them a try, really like them. For what they are, I feel like they're really good shoes, and they give Trickers, the king of country shoes, a real run for their money. Then I tried new brands. I tried Cheaney, I tried the Armoury, I tried Skolyx, Cru Nonpareil, Hephaestus, Corthay, Bodileys, Aubercy, Ichigo Ichie, vahtia, Norman Vilalta, Grenson, Zonkey Boot, Francis Waplinger, Blazing Wonders, Septieme Largeur, J.M. Weston, Mattina, Bowhill and Elliot, Yohei Fukuda, Bordon, Yearn, Paul Sargent, which is the new iteration from the Alfred Sargent family of brands, and then Santalum out of Indonesia as well. And I'm really excited. There are some really great shoemakers out there, and really just beyond excited that I was able to really dig in and understand a little bit more about the shoemaking world. Now, when I look at what my acquisitions were, I had the most acquisitions in a category that I never really had a lot of acquisitions in before, and that's boots. I actually acquired 17 pairs of boots over the course of the year, and this is an example. This is an Edward Green Galway in this beautiful soft leather, and I'm really excited about it. I've decided to take this field boot and make this a staple in my collection, and build a collection around it, in addition to where I was going before with the split toe boot, as well as some jumpers and things in between, more as a one-off. Now, I continued my work in collecting split toes. A lot less split toes than in prior years, but I still had 15. Now, this is an example from Meccariello in suede. This is a Capri Centurion. Now, look at that stitch density in there. This is a hand-stitched, rubber-soled shoe where the stitching is so dense. It's actually 11 to 12 stitches per inch. And it's so dense that it looks like it's actually grooved in there. I mean, I would venture to say he carved a channel. It's that wonderful. And just a beautifully made shoe. It's unlined, and he never stopped that from, providing the support where it's needed, and really just enough structure so that it is a beautiful example. Now, I had another set of summer shoes that I got from Acme, same style, different way of doing the split toe and the apron and so forth, but I like these way better. I just feel like they're a much better made shoe. Now, Adelaides. I continue my collection of Adelaides, and I added 13 new Adelaides to the collection. Now, this one is actually a special one because this is a hole cut that is brogued with an Adelaide pattern, and they call that a faux Adelaide. We'll talk a little bit more about this shoe later, but a beautiful example here by Carmina in Russian calf from the Baker Tannery. Now, I talked before about Foster & Son, and this is my bespoke quality Foster & Son from their top grade of their ready-to-wear line. Now, when I say bespoke quality, there are parts of it that are bespoke quality. It's all very, very good quality, but other parts that I'm sure they do better in their bespoke line. But just a wonderful example of a shoe, and I acquired 5 new hole cuts, not including this one, this year, which is a change for me. I don't usually acquire hole cuts. So this is something that I'm looking at differently. In the past, I really focused my collection on a split toe, an Adelaide, and then like a wingtip Oxford. And this year, I've changed that around a little bit with some of these other styles, which we'll get into, but very few on the wingtip Oxfords. Now, the next is loafers. Loafers, as I've said before on the channel, I'm not necessarily a fan of, but this is the first pair that I had made on my custom last, and we actually did some last work for it to make it fit perfectly. And this is from St. Crispin's, my only St. Crispin purchase this year. And this is in a goat suede, which, you know, goat hair is what they use to make cashmere, and goat suede is extremely lustrous. I love it. I don't love that they didn't come with trees and that I had to put in some of my antique trees into it, but I am very thrilled with those loafers as loafers go. 5 pairs of loafers, very, very different. Now this year I also did something really, really different for me. I got away from the broguing and I started going with some austerity brogues, and I picked up 4 pairs of austerity brogues, 2 of which are actually spiral hole cuts. So made with a single piece of material in a circle this way, instead of just one smooth piece like a hole cut. So very interesting design. Now no broguing, which is why they call it austerity. And but this is a traditional wingtip. And the others are, as I said, the spiral, but they still have the traditional wing in the front. So I'm gonna include them with that. Now the other area that I went into, last year in 2020, I acquired a pair of John Lobb Drift. And I talked about it in my year-end video that I thought maybe an area to expand into this year was the high vamp derby. And this is a high vamp derby from one of the new brands that I'm excited about, Norman Vilalta. And this is a single eye derby called the Eduardo. Just absolutely beautiful, stunning finishing on this. They really did a fantastic job. And Norman Vilalta, with their patinas, with their design, their subtlety, there's just so much in this shoe that I really, really love. And I have another pair that I got from him as well, which I'm very excited about. But the high vamp derbies, I picked up 3 pairs, which I thought was, you know, worthy of note. Now, I picked up 4 wingtip brogues. Now, this is my only wingtip Oxford. I picked up 1 wingtip derby, which is a first. I haven't had one of those before. And then I picked up 2 long wing derbies, which is part of a staple in my collection that I used to have as my core. Like I have split toes and Adelaides as my core. I used to have plain toe bluchers and long wings. But I realized after a while that, you know, most of the brands out there don't carry them. So I needed to go with something different. But this is from Aubercy, a very beautiful high-end shoe. I have to acknowledge, I got a lot of comments on this. It is rumored, expected, more or less confirmed, that these are made in the Enzo Bonafe factory. But I will say that the quality of these, the way they do the soles, quality of the stitching, overall finishing, I feel is a step ahead of what Enzo Bonafe does on their particular line. And I'm not surprised by that, considering these are almost double the cost for a Blake Stitch shoe as the Enzo Bonafe is for a hand welted shoe. Now I can get these hand welted as well for an additional $400. So it is a more expensive, more refined shoe. They have beautiful lasts that they use. And Aubercy is one to watch and one I think I will look at more in the future. And then last, I picked up two plain traditional derbies. Now this is a funky derby because it's kind of like a field boot without the shaft of the boot. But derby, where I am talking about, is where it just goes down here. So I have one, which is the Grenson big triple welt that I have. And then I have this one, which is an Alfred Sargent Coldstream, which is actually a stitched on construction, or Veltron construction, my only one, except for the new Santalum boots that I believe are done by hand versus by machine. Now, the first shoe that I unboxed this year is right here. This is the Yohei Thompson. Very refined, nice, beautiful dress shoe. And this is a saddle hatch grain. Okay, so saddle is the color. I have a pair of Dovers coming in this color. Very excited about. And then lastly, my last shoe that I unboxed. This is the Freeport by Alan Edmonds, which is in this beautiful natural shell cordovan, and may in fact be my last Alan Edmonds purchase. I definitely don't think I'm going to do any in 2022, and I may not. Again, I just feel like their attention to quality is so different than it is with other brands that I need to make a change. So now with that, I'm gonna just pause for a moment and talk about what I was most impressed by. As I look back and I think about the shoes that I was absolutely floored, absolutely stunned, just couldn't believe my good fortune to have a shoe this nice. It all starts with my first experience of fully designing a shoe with a shoemaker who actually built it from scratch, picking out the leather from swatches, everything. And this is the Francis Waplinger. If you look closely, this is an Adelaide. You can see here, but the patterning is so good you can't see it. And it is a plain toe. We decided not to do any broguing because you wouldn't be able to see it. And it is just you can see the heel caps though. This is just perfection. Just an absolutely gorgeous shoe. I love this leather. It's so unique. Bison. This is what I call my dragon underbelly Adelaides. That's actually in the name of the leather. I'm not making that up. So I call it the dragon hide Adelaides. Now, the next one is in a surprising leather. And I had looked at these online in a bespoke pair and decided that I wanted to try it out. This is a Yohai Fukuda split toe, MTO. And this is in this pebble grain. And pebble grain is usually viewed by a lot of guys as not being high-end, but this is just so beautiful. These soles are luscious to walk on and to feel. He did a nice job with a very subtle fiddleback. Just a great, great pair of shoes. Every bit as detailed and as wonderful as the handmade pair, and these are machine stitched. He obviously does hand stitching, but charges an extra, I think it's 100,000 yen to do it. So I decided not to, but it is a beautiful, beautiful shoe. Now, the next one out there is Meccariello. Now, I had a couple of pairs of Meccariello, but I really think that this one stands on its own so well, and I talked about some of the pieces before. If I look at the boar hair stitch in this apron, this is so hard to do. It's so hard to show in suede, and this is just executed with precision, folks. I cannot speak highly enough of the work that Antonio and his team do. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and really excited, blown away, to the point where I decided to invest in a couple of his made-to-measure shoes and really dial in a more personalized last in his top line. And one of them is in his top line. And just super, super excited about those shoes arriving in 2022. Now, the other one that I gave another shot to, I had originally tried Edward Green with a pair of loafers. And the loafers were unstructured. They were cemented, which I found out after I bought them. But, you know, these were 500 pounds, right? So they're not inexpensive. And I just felt like this was not good value. But when I picked out another pair of Edward Green, the Dovers, and then eventually I have the pair of the Galways that are here, the leather, the execution all the way around the shoe, the balance, the last, just the way that it's designed, the way that it's executed is just a level of flawlessness that I don't usually see. Now, I would expect it. It is a very expensive brand, but it is, in my opinion, they're doing something different for the price that you pay. And while, you know, these are going to run $1,600, they are a great pair of boots. So I will be doing a video comparing like a Galway to some of the less expensive field boots, so you can see the difference and what the extra money buys. But I am very impressed with Edward Green, and really it made me double take, triple take. And then lastly, most impressed. Now this is not to say I'm unimpressed with others, but I'm most impressed with Norman Vilalta. Now, Norman has been on some of the shoe groups that I'm on, and he's a gentleman, doesn't usually participate, you know, jump in on discussions and stuff, but, you know, I've definitely seen him on, and he recognized me. He has had a few conversations with me, and I really feel like this is a step above, both in patina as well as construction. And I feel like these are, I mean, this pair and this pair over here are just so wonderful, so wonderfully executed. They are perfection in a boot, and it is different, right? There is a different pattern on this side of the shoe than there is on this side of the shoe. It is so subtle, you wouldn't even necessarily notice it, but this is the kind of thing that I really like because it's something only I'll notice, and it is a distinction in the design of the boot. So very excited about these. These are great boots, and I'm super excited to work with Norman again and his team and the way they do it. Now, I didn't have time to pull out all my shoes and really kind of go through this. You know, I've got 152 pairs, so there's a lot out there, but there's a couple that I want to point out as best values that you should take a look at my playlists and see. The first one is Yearn, and this is my notes, by the way. Yearn shoemakers. I have a pair of Adelaides from them, and I have a pair of field boots on the way. Really great shoemakers that are out there. You can buy hand-stitched, hand-welted shoes for under $500. It's a great deal. It's actually about $400. It's really worth taking a look at. And then last is Sons of Henry. Sons of Henry is using some of the best leather out there in making their boots and shoes, and they do a really nice job. And I talked about them last year. I had a couple pairs of split toes, and I really liked them. This year I picked up a pair of field boots, and I love them. They are super nice. So definitely something worth taking a look at. Right in the $350 to $450 range. Worth every penny. And then I'm going to look at what is my most amazing interpretation. So, you know, I MTO a lot of shoes, so I kind of pick out what I like, and then I'm rolling the dice on what they're going to look like. Because the color, the leather, sometimes I choose the welt, the edging, all that stuff kind of on my own. And I think the best executed pair I had to my vision is this pair of Carmina. Now, this is the wrong color. I actually asked for this to be in brown, and they sent it to me in burgundy because they only have burgundy Baker calf. But and I did ask for brown, but nobody noticed, and that's fine. It's a what a gorgeous shoe. It just did such a nice job with this. I'm beside myself with pleasure. This is just a really well executed, lovely interpretation of what I had in mind. And I was nervous about it. I was really nervous about it. And they beat my expectations, which is hard to do. So very excited about that. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm disappointed in. And I wouldn't be fair to my audience or to myself if I didn't bring them up. First, I've had some problems with Alden, where I have noticed that the lasting is not symmetrical on the top of the boot. So like look at this this is an Allen Edmonds, but imagine this part being shifted over just a little bit so that this part kind of hangs down a little bit. It bothers me just because I guess I'm a little bit observant to those type of details. And, you know, a couple of cobblers have reached out to me and said that, you know, Alden doesn't care. So, you know, I find that to be disappointing. I find that the overall quality of Alden's, the welts, the stitching, stuff like that, it's just not good. It's not what it used to be. The other one I'm kind of unimpressed with recently has been Allen Edmonds. You know, this is a pair where they didn't bury the stitching into a channel. Really, it looks like they cut a channel, but they didn't manage to get in there. And it's just not, it's not really well executed. And what bothers me, I think, the most on Allen Edmonds is that I sent this to the store to be inspected, and the store didn't catch any of the problems on this. You know, there's a problem here with the welt and where it's cut, and which is really minor, but this stuff is not. They should have called it out, and they didn't. So, you know, contrast that to, you know, I bought a pair of shoes that are on their way, actually, from an outfit in France called Pointe de Paris, and they had a little bit too much ink get on the sole. Ink. And they said, yeah, we know you're not going to be able to see it on your first wear, but we feel really, really bad. We can't remake the boots or the shoes, but we're going to give you a free thing of Saphir cream and a free thing of wax because we feel bad. You know what? That goes a long way with me. And I just feel like this was, Allen Edmonds ought to know better. Now, the last one that I'm disappointed about seems to be a bit of a language issue, and that is our friends at Yearn. And I called it out to them, and again, they just didn't seem to really worry about it. But their heritage shell cordovan is from an American family-owned tannery. And unfortunately, they felt that the word American would include South America, which, if you look in the dictionary, it doesn't. But they decided that that was going to be how they interpreted it. And so I find it to be misleading. It makes it seem like it's Horween, and they're not allowed to use the Horween name. And it's not. And the quality, I noticed in some of the other shell cordovan shoes from Yearn, where they're using a piece that's so thin that it actually creases. And that's the one thing you're never supposed to get with shell cordovan. So I find that disappointing. Now, that said, I bought a lot of shoes from Yearn this year, and most of my experiences were pretty good. But that is disappointing just as the company as a whole. And I find that to be, you know, a bit on the sad side that they did that. Now, you know, they've got the right to do it, and, you know, I let people know, and it is what it is. But again, I just found that a little bit on the disappointing side. Not the same level as, you know, an Alden or an Allen Edmonds, where they're not making as good a quality. They're just, in a way, misrepresenting. And again, I think it may be part of a language thing. And then two last things. One, my most expensive video concept to date has been that I decided I was going to have a pair of shoes made in every tannery of shell cordovan. And so I've been out looking for shoes and having them made and so forth. But, you know, shell cordovan shoes, the upcharge is usually $600 to $800. So, you know, you really have to appreciate, you know, Yearn being able to sell a pair for $340. And so as I look at it and I look back with, I think there are 11, 12 different makers. I'm going to be into it for a lot of money for this concept of a video. And so maybe not the best idea I've ever had, but certainly something that I'm still excited to do and to explore with you the differences in, you know, like a Horween boot versus a Merriam boot versus a Chloe boot, etc. And then last, what am I excited about for 2022? There are a lot of really cool things coming, and I really want to see and share with you what I'm most excited about. I have a playlist out there called, not a playlist, but I have a board on Pinterest under WI Shoe Guy called Pipeline. And in this, I actually go through all the shoes that I'm looking at, or that I've ordered. What's next is what I'm looking at. And what I've ordered, I have a pair of split toes from Hiro Yanamagachi, which I've spoken to him. We actually had a Zoom call. Absolute gentleman, and he is making a pair for me. We've been going back a little bit on sizes, but really, really excited for those shoes. They're going to be epic. I can't wait. I bought a pair, my Christmas present to myself from my wife is a pair of Edward Green Canterbury's, which is their Adelaide. So they just had a sale this week, and so I picked up a pair and very excited about those. It's the first time I'm going to have the leather sole from them because right now all of mine are on rubber soles. So I can't wait to see that and experience it. I have a couple of other, leather soles on order, but this is going to be, this is like in stock. So I'm excited about that. It's already in the mail. So can't wait to see that. And then I'm going to be working with Weston on a pair of shoes. I've actually looked at a pair of shell shoes from them. And I'm really excited about that as well. I am working with their sister company, which is Midas, on a pair of shell boots that they're doing in Ogawa shell. And I'm super excited about that, a pair of field boots. But Weston is another one that I'm really looking forward to working with. And then lastly, I'm super excited about the 2 pairs of made to measure from Meccariello. I do think that those are going to be fantastic additions to the collection and can't wait to see them out. So this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. I hope you found this interesting. And I feel like I talk too much. Oh, one last thing. I talk about things that I'm disappointed in. And, I don't want to overstate it, right? I mean, the shoemakers have the right to do what they do. And, I buy the shoes and I pay for them because, I want to try them and I want to add them to my collection. So I'm not big on returning things for issues. But here's an example. I bought travel shoe trees from Castellano and Grilling. And I thought, these are travel shoe trees. So when I put them in the shoe, it'll hold the heel. And I put these into my shoes and there's that much gap in the heel. So this part's not really, so I have to pull them back in order to get them in there. And I actually corresponded with Dean and he told me, yeah, that's kind of the way they're designed. So a little disappointed in those. I bought 2 pairs of these and, I use them for travel, but not sure that they're necessarily providing any protection to my shoes getting squished when they don't really sit in it with any tightness at all. So anyway, that's it. Take 2. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day and Happy New Year to all.